How's it going, everybody? Papa Wall Street back with another chart breakdown video. So every week or every weekend, I should say, I start creating my watch list for the week. And that, as you've watched in previous videos, consists of doing some market scanning after Friday's close, usually into Saturday morning. I've completed all of my scans. That also includes not only using scanners, but scanning prior week's watch lists. So some of the scanning is manual, right? Just looking through charts. And others are using scans that I've put together. So obviously, check out some of those previous videos in the Edge Lab video library. But today I wanted to go through the chart for ticker ELF. That's ELF, also known as ELF Beauty. It's a beauty supply company. And we don't always talk about what companies do and the fundamentals, what their EBITDA is or their price to earnings ratio. I mean, those are for fundamental analysts. I'm a technical analyst, and sometimes I do take into consideration the fundamentals of a company or some of those non-technical aspects. But from for the most part, when I'm looking at a chart, I'm really just focused on the technicals. And in building this week's watch list, I've come across a couple of technical setups that I think warrant breakdown, kind of like a video I'm doing here. And moving forward, I'm going to try and do at least one of these. Well, let's say at least two or three of these a month. I was going to say one a week, but what I want to do is go a little bit more in depth. And, for those of you who know my work, what I would say is pause this video here and open up the ELF chart on your charting platform and start playing around. What patterns do you see? Again, I'm not looking at RSI or TTM squeeze or MACD. I have no moving averages on. I haven't done any drawings. Now, I've already charted this out, and I'm going to reveal what I'm seeing on the chart. But before we even do that, I just want to point out some very basic things. And I want you all to get into the habit of looking at a blank chart. And, we could even turn off volume for the time being just so it's like super clean, right? Turn off volume by price, turn off volume by time, and go back to my little drawing tool. And, just take a look at the chart itself. Take a moment, observe it. What are you seeing? What are the things that are standing out, right? For me, like the first thing I notice is, okay, well, this is, a reversal to the downside here. Maybe you can look at this as a double top, right? There's top one and there's top two. And you can only confirm a double top after the first top's bottom is broken right here, right? And you can see right here, you see a nice acceleration to the downside. So maybe that's a potential short that we could have looked at it after this double top. And I see a lot of traders, on X and in other social platforms, and they see this setup and they'll call it a double top. And technically, they're not correct. It's not a double top until it breaks down. Now, there's a potential double top, right? But we're getting into semantics, right? So anyway, we see a double top reversal here. That defines the trend now is to the downside. You see a counter trend rally here, which looks like a bear flag, and then a continuation to the downside. So, here we saw a good short opportunity here. Over here, we saw another good short opportunity here. And again, I want you to get used to seeing these types of patterns play out in real time in your scans when you're looking through your charts. Again, clear everything off your chart. Get all that noise out of there. It drives me crazy when I look at charts, that other traders post, and there's just like, lines everywhere, and then you have MACD and stochastics, and then, it clutters the chart and you can't see anything, right? I'm more of a, I like, I'm a designer, right? So I like aesthetically pleasing things, but there's a reason why my charts are very well organized. There's a reason why my charts are very easy to read because I want to be able to read them. And not only that, I want you to be able to read them as well. But I also want you to get into the habit of seeing these things as I see them as well. All right, so to confirm, We saw a reversal double top there, double top breakdown. We saw a potential bear flag form there and a breakdown. And see another gap, right? You see a lot of gaps here, right? There's a gap down right there. There's a gap right there. There's a gap right there. There's another gap here, another gap here. So these are things we want to look for, little clues. Gaps tend to give you confirmation of the direction. And sometimes you have common gaps, sometimes you have breakaway gaps, other times you have acceleration gaps. I'll create a video talking about those different types of gaps, but in any event, we see now a potential reversal to the upside. So here's the reversal to the downside, and now here's the reversal potentially to the upside. And what do we see? We see a gap, right? To me, this looks like a common gap, right? It's not breaking away from, resistance level, so to speak. Now, if we were to go from here and then gap up over this level here, then that would be a breakaway gap, right? And I think if we look at earnings, right? So this gap down here was on earnings. This gap up here was on earnings. And so, something else we'll talk about, power earnings gap up, right? Here's a power earnings gap up right here. We'll talk about that in another video. Rome, what's the saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. There's a lot of videos that I want to create to show you guys the things that I know so that you understand or have an understanding of how I approach the market and how I trade. So, okay, we saw, let's just review real quick. I know I'm going over things multiple times, but I'm doing that for a reason. I want to reinforce these things that I'm seeing. So we see the double top reversal. We see the bear flag breakdown. Now we see another reversal to the upside. The other thing I'm looking at, you have a gap down here and you have a gap up here. This is almost an island reversal here. Actually, it looks like a little smiley face, right?